Hi, this is Bob Sandidge. This is the power of voice, one of my favorite topics. And this time, what we'd like to do is help us all hear our voices. So, the first thing you're going to need to do is go out and round up a couple of file folders or something about that size. And I'll give you just a minute to do that. Just push pause and go find you a couple of file folders. Okay. So we're all ready. Now, I wouldn't normally do this in public, but for this purpose, we're gonna put on our big ears. Now, one of the things that we're doing here is what we want to do is pay attention to how we're sounding, and we don't really know how we sound to others because we're listening to ourselves through our head. And what happens here is our voice vibrates the skeletal structure in our face. It also wraps around our face and comes in our ears from this way, which is why you sometimes hear the radio guys, see the old-time radio guys, with their ear like this. That was before they had really good earphones. but it also is one of the ways that you actually can hear your voice a little bit better. But we're going to do a little experiment here that will let you get it back. If you've done recording, I mean, more and more people have heard their voice these days because we have TV cameras everywhere and recorders everywhere. That's also a good way to practice. In fact, I'll tell you a little bit of a story about how I got into radio because I was not that good in the beginning. Of course, I was 14 or 15 years old, and how are you going to tell me that's not what I'm going to do with the rest of my life? Because I was really about radio, and I knew that was what I was going to do one way or the other. So I made, my dad worked in out west at a trucking company in the summertime, so there was a radio station out there that I liked, and I thought, okay, we're going out there for the summer. I'll send out an audition tape, and maybe I can work in radio while I'm out there this summer. Well, big ideas, but why not? So I sent the tape, and I get all kinds of very nice, pleasant, polite rejection. Says, yeah, no, wait a few years and come back. So while I'm out there, I spend the summer. I have a tape recorder, fortunately. So I spend the whole summer reading, delivering. Of course, I have no coach, so I'm just listening to myself. I'm playing, recording, listening to tapes, reading books, reading scripts, reading anything I can get my hands on, and doing things that I think people on the radio do. So I'm practicing. So before we come back to where I live in Southern Illinois, I send a couple of audition tapes to a station in a town south of my town and another station north of my town. And I was all excited to get home, and I had them respond to a post office address. And I get back, and both of them say the same thing. Basically, why don't you wait a few years, blah, 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 blah. So I did. But I stayed up with what was going on with the station, and it turned out that the station to the south of me at one point was looking for somebody to run the control board for basketball games or something in the evening. So I went in, and while it wasn't a talent audition, it wasn't a voice audition. I was sitting next to a guy who was also there for this little interview. And as soon as he talked to me, I knew I had the job. And I knew that I had the job because that he didn't. He didn't have the voice for it. Now, this wasn't an audition for a voice thing, but I also know that if you're in a radio station, at some point, something doesn't work, somebody doesn't show up, they say, hey, kid, you're in here. And that's exactly the way it worked. So I'm sitting there for a lot of time flipping switches on, plugging other people's commercials in and so forth. But at some point they said, hey, we need you to read the news. The other guy can't do it, blah, blah, blah. So I'm ready. I'm practicing. I've been ready for a long time. But I still had a twang. I still had a long way to go. There was still a lot of coaching that needed to happen. And I hadn't really had a lot of coaching other than self-coaching, but I will tell you that there is a lot of value in that. There is a lot of value in recording yourself, listening to yourself, because it will help you change the quality of your voice and also let you listen to the other things like the tempo and the pace. And it makes you more aware of that. So as you're watching television and listening to the really professional people, to notice how they're doing it and what they're doing and how they're using their voice to excite you about something or draw you into a story that they're telling or to get you excited about a product that they're talking about. And you can see today that there's a lot of very subtle stuff going on. If you look at the automotive commercials particularly, that they're doing very gentle background kind of voices, but they're kind of seductive and draw you into the story. There's a lot to be learned from how that works because it works for all of us. They're just using techniques that they know human beings respond to, so why not learn a little bit from them? So the thing to do is practice, and the only way that you're going to gain from practice is by paying a lot of attention. And you know what? We live in this laboratory where we talking to people all day and all night often. So all we need to do is start paying attention to how that works with people and listening to them really, and listen to other people, our friends and neighbors and family, and how are they using their voice? And who do you think is really effective and who's less effective and why? Who do people like and don't like so much? And is it how's that connected to the voice and what they're doing? So anyway, it's a lot of awareness stuff. But right now, let's take a listen to our voice. So you have your folders handy? Okay, we're going to take these two folders and we're going to put them in front of our ears. So they're going to be in the front of our ears. And you'll notice as you talk, your voice sounds different because that sound that you normally hear that's coming around the front of your face and into your ears is not now there. So now you're listening a lot more to the sound of your voice as it is inside of your head. And as you talk, and you may want to split up or take this home or do it on your own, but as you talk, pull these away, slowly away, and you'll begin to hear how different your voice sounds, and you can hear some different qualities. You can hear the more resonant and the deeper qualities of your voice because now they're coming directly into your ears. And this is give you a little bit more idea of how other people are hearing you. And you can play with your voice there, like move your voice down some ranges, put the wind in your chest and talk from your chest, breathe down here, talk from your chest, so you're getting more of this kind of a sound, and then pull this out. Now you can do that. Actually, the quality of your voice is improved by deepness. It's one of the things that people respond to is the warmth of a voice, and the warmth comes from deep. It's not going to be up in your head. That's not very warm, but it's going to come down from the depths of your chest. And that means, like deliberately breathing and making the sounds that are actually more soothing to people. And that makes people really more comfortable with listening to you. And you're a little bit more deliberate about what you're saying. So here you go. You want to play with this a little bit. And I would say do this at home when you have a little bit of time to practice. And then practice doing some different voice exercises. Like you can start up here, get your voice up high, and so it doesn't have a lot of resonance, and it's up here. Now, this is where your voice goes usually when people are frightened or alarmed. Their voice goes up, and they're like, ah. But as people become more comfortable and are more relaxed, then their voices move back down to a normal range. Now, a lot of us has never really considered what a normal range is, so it may be more up here somewhere, and it doesn't have the warmth of the bottom on it. So you may want to cultivate more of that by doing deeper breathing and by really bringing your voice up from below. So take your big yellow folders, whatever color you have, go home, play with this, and really take a listen to yourself. And as you do, think about the kind of voice that you would like to have and how you would like to shape your voice into the most pleasant voice that you can put forward, because your voice is you, and it takes 3 seconds for people to make a decision about you based on your voice. So it's a very important lead component when we are meeting and working with other people.